I am never going to be arrogant enough to think I can't learn something from absolutely everyone. Even someone who's just posted one video on YouTube, they might have an idea or a camera angle or an editing idea or a concept or something that I've not thought of. And I think, okay, great, I can learn from that.
What's happening, guys? Welcome into another episode of Drummers That I Know, a series where I chat to drummers that I know about everything except drums. In today's episode, I'm talking to Ed Thorne, who is a YouTuber, a producer, a singer-songwriter, a drummer, a live sound engineer, a business owner, an entrepreneur, and so many other things. We talk about how and why he started his different businesses, how he grew from 0 to 6,500 subscribers in 1 year on YouTube, and how you can do the same, along with so many other topics to do with content creation, time management, dealing with negativity, and all this other good stuff. And without further ado, here's the interview. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you next week. Obviously, you were a drummer, professional drummer. Yeah, making your living doing that, gigging and whatever. What prompted you starting to look into other areas, like diversifying, for want of a better word?
That was a very specific moment, actually, in 2015, which was probably when I first took a bit of a career tangent and diversified into live sound, because I was gigging regularly with function bands, and then the two bands I was working with, both the singers were on tour around the world, gallivanting somewhere exotic, leaving me at home on my own without any gigs. And I had a whole shed's worth of PA equipment that I'd accumulated through various different bands and I knew how to use. And then I thought, well, I've got a Saturday off in June. This is ridiculous. So I put a post out and said, hey, I'm available to do live sound for a band. Someone tagged me in someone else's post saying that they were needing a sound engineer. And then literally from that gig, I got probably my best client to date. The keyboard player in that band then rang me about 3 months later and said, hey, I'm working with this Jewish wedding band. And the guy we've got is just his equipment's all a bit rubbish and yours was brand new and quite good. So I said, yeah, great, get me on board. And then I've been working with those guys for, well, not including last year, 4 or 5 years now.
I take it that'll be in terms of like the balance of what you're doing currently, you know, your YouTube stuff. Will you build that back up? Will that take a back seat now that you've got this sort of slightly residual online income stream? What do you think?
Yeah, so when we go back, I will be selective about what I do, because now obviously I've learned how to live quite frugally. So I will be selective with what I do. In terms of the drum gigs, unfortunately, about half the venues I used to play at in London have now closed permanently.
Really?
Including my favourite venue ever, which is pretty devastating. And there are a couple of others, but I'm just not that bothered about going back to playing at those. So in terms of the gigs, there's not going to be the frequency, unfortunately, I don't think we had before. And there's a couple of places I've decided I don't really want to continue working at. But in terms of it being a balance between YouTube and live sound and gigging, I mean, YouTube is, you know, it's a daytime thing. I have been pretty religious over the last year of doing it 9 till 6 p.m. every day, and then whatever else I have to do afterwards, which can result in quite long days. But that balance will continue, I'd have thought. You know, weddings and functions at the weekends. I don't see there being too many midweek gigs after this, at least not until things start picking up and the economy picks up and moves again. So yeah, YouTube can be a weekday thing and then functions at the weekend. And between the two, I think I'm actually in quite a fortunate position in terms of different income streams. And again, another reason I'm dying to get hold of a drum studio is because I want to be doing online drum sessions. A little bit late to the party, I know. I've had nearly a year to to think about this. But yeah, between those different income streams, I'm feeling optimistic in the long run.
Let's talk about your one-hit wonder video, right? Because what I want to ask you about that is obviously that and then subsequent comparison videos are the top performing videos on your channel. Would you agree?
I have. It sounds like you researched it.
It sounds like I saw your Instagram post. But if you know, if you look at it, the ones that are there, right? So YouTube theory goes, social media theory goes, double down on what's working. So how do you balance doing the stuff that will definitely get views versus the stuff you maybe want to do?
I'm happy at the moment to use the, and no doubt someone will call me a sellout, but I'm happy at the moment to use the reviews and the comparisons to gain a large audience of people who are interested in recording music at home. And then I have a few ideas to increase the educational content and go a little bit more instrument specific. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's all part of a a big plan. But for now, I mean, until today, well, recently with the well, let me rephrase that. Until we can come out of this lockdown, and in this period where I've not been too optimistic about coming out of it anytime soon, I have been planning ahead, thinking, well, the reality is I'm not going to go back to doing 5 gigs a week overnight like that, because as we said, a lot of the venues have closed. I don't know if there's going to be the frequency of work. So maybe this needs to be my full-time career. So I've been treating it as this is my only career option. Any gigs that come in, fantastic, bonus. If we get back to gigging twice a week, later this year, amazing. I'll take all that as a bonus and still be pushing this as a career. So in terms of that video, the one hit wonder video, making money and other content like it, I'm happy.
One thing that I struggle with, and I don't know if you struggle with this, and I'm trying to avoid doing this, is that you look at channels and then you compare yourself to them. Not the good channels, is the ones that I look at and I'm like, none of what you're doing makes any sense as why this works. And yet they get all the views. So how do you combat the kind of like the competitive nature of looking at other people and analyzing what they're doing and being like, oh, why are they getting it or why am I not getting it?
So I go between two mindsets, and I have to be quite disciplined which side I sit on, and it is a matter of disciplining myself to think, no, you're choosing to think like that. You can also choose to think like this. And if I think like this, that'll become a habit, and I'll be a lot happier for thinking like that. One side is, yes, I can compare myself to, Sanjay C, who's got a channel similar to mine, and he's grown in the last 12 months about 250,000 subscribers, which
wow.
Given what we do is quite niche relative to YouTube. His growth has been unbelievable. And I have a friend, very good friend, Mike Enjo, who runs the Creative Source channel, who does a similar thing. And he's grown very quickly, and he'll catch up with Sanjay C at some point, I would suspect. And I look, but in terms of video production, their videos are really good, but they're relatively new channels. So on the one hand, I think, oh man, Mike's like a year ahead of me, and he's on like 70,000 subscribers, and at this point in his journey, he was on 10 or 11,000 subscribers. And it is hard to not compare, but then I think, well, that's his journey. This is mine. Who's to say I won't overtake him in the future? You can't. I think Mike Johnson's very famous for saying this in the drumming world. It's not about who's better. It's about someone being further down the line in their journey.
Yeah,
I think is a very kind and compassionate way of easing this kind of stress. And the other side of it is, of course, that I have to think, when I was planning this YouTube channel, in December 2019 and January 2020, I did loads of research about the analytics and the back end of YouTube, how it works, monetization potentials, how to grow, all the, what to do with thumbnails, titles, etc. So I gave myself a window of, right, I'll do a year of this, and if I'm at maybe 800 or 900 subscribers, I'll keep going for 18 months. If I'm nowhere near, I'll sack it off. And then if I get to 18 months and I'm not monetized, I'll definitely put the project in the bin and say, right, I tried, never mind, move on to the next thing. So then in comparison, when I'm about to hit 7,000 subscribers, pretty much within a year, just about maybe 13 months, I have far, far superseded my expectations. So I have to, be energized by that and encouraged by that I'm obviously doing something that people are relating to and people are enjoying. And, in and amongst the humorous troll comments I post on Instagram stories, there are a lot of very kind and appreciative comments, which I should also choose to use to fuel the process more. I'm never going to be arrogant enough to think I can't learn something from absolutely everyone. Even someone who's just posted one video on YouTube, they might have an idea or a camera angle or an editing idea or a concept or something that I've not thought of. And I think, okay, great, I can learn from that. Same with drumming. If someone who's been playing a year, even a beginner who stumbles on an idea, I might think, wow, what was that? Because
totally.
Have fresh approaches to things. If I can learn something, I genuinely believe I can learn something from everyone. And learning for me is like the fountain of youth. I absolutely love it.
One thing that I personally struggle with is that kind of getting ahead. You seem to be so far ahead in terms of like both your video ideas, everything's planned and things like that. You might not, at least you've got a script and you've got titles, ideas and stuff like that. How do you manage your time? Which I guess is more of a broader term or a broader idea of like, okay, what strategies are you using to manage your time so that you actually do everything to a high level without burning out or whatever?
Ooh.
Or what do you try to do, shall we say?
So, I mean, I'm pretty religiously up at 8 in the morning on my computer, starting to work at 9. And I generally work till about 6, unless it's an upload day. And then inevitably I end up working till 9 or 10, just because the upload process takes ages by the time you've done a thumbnail and keyworded everything and uploaded the video and then spammed every Facebook group that'll accept you.
Yeah.
Done a Twitter post, done an Instagram post, etc. Those are long days. So those are days when I usually don't leave the house. Regularly don't get out of my pajamas, barely eat, don't exercise, and they're very unhealthy days. I mean, I have a schedule, I have an order, I've got like 8 or 9 videos planned. The exact order may change slightly depending on how I feel the video's done in comparison to the last one or what the next one is. But there is I've got a spreadsheet of content that needs producing. In terms of organizing the actual videos, I usually get a product. I will find a way to research it. For example, yesterday I did some singing practice and then I thought, right, I've got a new microphone. Let's stick it on, record some verses on this track just to gauge my ear to hear how it sounds and think, it's going to be a good microphone on instruments. It's a bit unforgiving on vocals. So maybe I need to demonstrate this and this best light on a drum kit and an acoustic guitar and maybe a piano somewhere. So that's a bit of kind of forefront research. And then I have to research the products. I do write scripts. I actually write my scripts. I bullet point everything I'm going to say for 2 reasons. One, my memory is abysmal, and I've no idea what I said 30 seconds ago, in this interview, let alone. There is you've got to have your director head on in terms of how to present the videos. I think at least that's something I've kind of consciously focused on to improve as a 1%. But yeah, everything is very scripted and bullet pointed, and for every, the video I've got coming out tomorrow. I don't know when this video is coming out, but the day from tomorrow as well. That video, I filmed 70 minutes of footage to get down to a 10-minute video.
No, man. All right, let's leave it there. And that was really fun, chat and shop. You'll obviously just absolutely explode, I'm sure, 20,000, 100,000 before long. And then you can get that studio that you really want, which will hopefully the channel will pay for itself.